All right, this is going to be fascinating and interesting, and even a little bit international. And one of my favorite things about we're both gonna talk about how we love being on blades, and we'll tell everybody what that means later. But Ushi, welcome to the Leaders Who Care series.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Well, you don't have to look much more forward because here we are, and
Exactly.
ready to go. And best place to start, as I always say, is if you can briefly introduce yourself. And it doesn't mean your whole life story in this question, because I have some other questions I want to ask you, but just stuff like where are you from originally, where are you now, what you feel comfortable telling maybe about your family and siblings and stuff. Maybe something you've never told anybody in the world and you want to reveal to the world now. Who knows? Something like that. But
I'm
share with us a little
coming.
bit. Share with us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Germany, Mannheim, Germany, and actually from a small town. And now I live in Media, Pennsylvania. And I kind of came to the United States in 1967. And I'm rather surprised that I ended up in Philadelphia because I traveled the country with Ice Follies at the time. And that's about it. At this point, I'm married. I'm married to my husband of 57 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. We only knew each other 2 weeks.
Oh my God. And they said it wouldn't last. What did they know?
Exactly. And friends of ours have said lots of money was lost on that because they all betted that it wouldn't last for, more than a year or not even a year. And I have one son, which I'm very proud of, and he has two sons, and he's married to a wonderful wife. And they are now 25 and 27 and are doing really, really well. I just couldn't be any prouder. And I have one brother in Germany who has a wonderful family. And other than that, we are actually a very small family from my side.
Well, all I can do is I remember my first time in Germany and it keeps ringing in my ears. Achtung bitte, Achtung bitte.
Yeah,
Over and over and over again in
but
the conference center or the come then whatever it was over there. No, that's great. Thanks for that. 57 years. That is
yeah,
an achievement.
but I'm very proud. Yeah, we both hit the jackpot. We are totally individuals, and but we love each other and we complete each other. You know what I mean? But we both have our own lives, and there was never any competing against each other. So, which was great.
Yeah, that makes a difference, and holding hands helps too.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Um, so we talked about, your son and grandkids and everything. And what were you like as a kid or a teenager back home? Were you a girly girl or were you a tomboy? Were you in sports back then? Tell us a little bit what you were doing.
Oh yeah, I was. Well, I kind of was tough to keep in check, Like, as a matter of fact, the reason I have the name Uschi is because when my mom was pregnant, this they went out for dinner and there was a little girl and her name was Uschi and she was very, very lively. So my dad said, that would be a great name. If she's a dot, we call her Ursula. If she's a little okay, we call her Ursula. And if she is really lively, we call her Uschi. Well, when I was born, I screamed for 8 hours straight. As a matter of fact, I think I still hold the record of that. So instantaneously, my name was Uschi.
Okay, God, you remember that when you were screaming.
Well, they told me now when I left for the States, we went back, and the nurses that were there when I was born, they told me that they never had another baby like that. I wanted the world to know I'm here.
Absolutely. And who knows, your husband might have heard it back then somehow and said, well, she's got spunk. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
that's right. That's right.
No, that's an awesome story. Um, so what were you like? Did you skate at an early age? Were you doing like playing with dolls? Everything? What were you doing?
No, as a matter of fact, my family were skiers because my parents came from Austria and they skied in the Alps, and it
Yeah.
was very important to them that their kids would do sports,
Hmm.
and especially winter sports, so you don't aren't stuck in the house. So we went skiing, especially in around Easter time. We always went on skiing vacation. And this one year was about 4.5 years old. There was no snow. So in the pensiona where we stayed, they had some skates. And now I had tiny feet, and so I had these screw-on skates, but they were. And so they had a brook there, so we went skating on that little canal. And my brother said, Uschi, do not go under the bridge. Well, naturally, that's where I went, and I broke like two legs. So that tells you right there that I was easy, easy.
Oh yeah, right. It's like don't think of an elephant or a pink elephant, and all you think about is a pink
Exactly.
elephant, right? I
Exactly.
know. I do remember the screw-on skates, and I remember the blades you would attach to your boot with a strap, all
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
stuff too. And they had, it was actually two blades in each one, so you wouldn't.
No, I had the single ones already right away.
Oh, well, excuse me.
So I didn't have to do it. But so anyway, so we went back home, and so in Mannheim, they had like an artificial rink, which was a big deal in those days. Most of rinks were outdoors. And when we went there, like were like 500 people, public session. It was amazing. But in the middle, they had a section where for figure skating or something. So I had to fight my way through at about 5 years old to get to the middle. And then on the weekend, they had cut, what we call it, like they had a string up, where the figure skaters could practice. Well, anyway, so I would always go in there and they throw me out because you had to be a member. And they throw me out and I'd be back in. And it went on for a while. And so the only thing my parents could do is join the club. And that's how it started. But
If you
actually, my brother was the skate, then became the skater, and I was just the little kid that tagged along, but because he was 5 years older.
was he into figure skating or was he into hockey by any
No,
chance?
no, he was into figure skating too, and he was actually quite elegant as a skater, and he made it um, second in nationals. He made it to worlds, but that time when he made it to worlds, that's when sadly that plane crash was from the United States team, and so worlds was canceled, and he became an attorney. And so at that time, my parents said, well, Uschi, it's too expensive for two kids to skate, and he was going to law school. And so you kind of have to decide, if you really, really want this, then, we naturally make sure it'll happen. But my brother said, just let Uschi do it because I'm not really into that anymore. And that's how I ended up. But I was lucky because I had, again, a chance to decide that that's what I really wanted. Because usually kids don't have that chance because you decide when you're 5 years old. Well, who knows if you still like it at 15.
Yeah, and there's a good chance of you get burnt out very quickly and you don't love it anymore like you did at the beginning and things like that. So if you choose it, it's a big, big, big difference. And I've always liked it. It's a longer discussion. I've always liked it when kids tried different sports and then picked one because you never know what you like or not like. But um yeah, I was on skates early too. In fact, we joke around in Montreal that our mothers are really tough because we come out with skates on, basically.
It hurts.
It hurts a lot. So, you think you want to hear screaming? Come have a kid come out with skates.
Well, that's
Come
right.
on.
That's right.
Um,
I also did other sports. I didn't because my dad felt if you're in a sport that is based on a lot of opinion, you also need to do something that can be measured. And
mhm.
so I did track and field, and I did high jumping, and I actually won area competitions in high jumping. And then
Wow.
at the end, I was trained by the German Olympic coach who actually had race. My dad's dream was that I could compete in both Olympics.
That's
But
your dad. That was your dad's dream.
Well, no, well, in a way too, he thought that would be really cool. Well, he only went along with what I wanted. So my parents, I mean, even if they tried to, they couldn't force me to do anything.
Yeah.
That's just was me.
So did you envision when you're going through school and everything, did you already have that vision in your mind of like this is what you really love and was it even beyond like I really want to do something higher level?
Well, actually, it's just kind of started happening. And then, uh, so we were the first people from that club who went to Garmisch to work with a coach there for, Christmas vacation. And then when I came back, there was a skating club and they had a club coach and I guess they didn't think it was too great that we thought we need something better. So anyway, so he says, well, Uschi, then why don't you show us an actor? So I did, and they started all laughing. They were all laughing. I said, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna win nationals someday. Before that, I never even thought about it because I do things because I love to do it. It wasn't really any for the payoff or something. And then I ended up winning national novice, junior, and senior. So I guess I showed them. And I was the first kid ever to make it to Worlds from that area and to Olympics. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's amazing what things happen in our life that trigger us to maybe go one direction versus another direction.
exactly. And I always feel you're either born a competitor or not. And I just from coaching for 50 years, I you can't make a non-competitor competitive. And you can't kill the competitiveness in somebody that has it. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
just the way it
you,
goes.
you're generally competitive in other things also.
No, it's yeah, it's the but a lot of times it is the same thing in coaching happened to me because I really didn't want a career in coaching. Like after I got married and we had our son, and then I had quit the show, and I was perfectly happy to be home. And then my husband said, "Uschi, you have so much talent, you should just share it." So I went and I gave some skating lessons, and so then I started working at the skating club of Wilmington, and I kept saying, "Why, you guys should do this," like in the coaches' room. And this one coach says, "Well, Uschi, if you know so much, then why don't you do it?" And those were fighting words. That's how it started.
Well, you see the thread, right? You first said, I'm going to be going to go to national because
Yeah.
you were challenged. Then if you know so much, then you do it. Okay, I'll show you how to do it.
And yeah, it was unbelievable because I never had any aspiration to do this. But then, when they challenged me, I did take dares all the time.
Well, things happen for a reason, and I compare sports and life all the time because I think they're totally aligned, whether it's business or life in general, or even families and stuff. And can you describe a little bit about, your journey to get to the Olympics? It's hard work. I mean, you got to be committed and whatnot. Can you describe how you felt during all that?
Well, the thing was, I think it becomes an addiction in a way that you really enjoy doing it. And I think that's a huge thing. You don't really look at the work as much. You just go, it's just something you do. But the only thing was like I naturally couldn't go to a lot of birthday parties, couldn't do things like that because they were practices. And in figure skating, like they always said, if you don't skate one day, you know it. If you don't skate 2 days, your coach knows it. And if you don't skate 3 days, the whole world knows it. So you kind of don't have that luxury to, because it's such a sensitive thing to do, especially on a high level.
Especially at a high level. I mean, it's close. Everybody else is great also. Uh,
Exactly, exactly. Now the thing is too, when I was competing, it was still under the amateur rules. You couldn't make any money or anything. So the Olympic ideal was the pure joy in the pursuit of excellence and higher, faster, stronger. And I think in those days, it was almost impossible for the pros to beat the amateurs because they were driven by total passion and there was never sidetrack to, the money. And I noticed like the competitors were a lot stronger in those days because you know that it was really for that passion. That's why you did it. You know, it wasn't now if you won and you had titles after, then you could cash in on that. But it wasn't why you were going there. And you know, and that to me is it was such a difference when they finally could make money, you know, all of us, and then they had managers, and that what happened instead of skating 6 days a week, all of a sudden they only could skate 4 because the managers made them do things. And you know, it was not the same, or it's not the same as it used to be.
But the Olympic athletes for skating, they're not amateurs now for skating,
No, they used to. No, now, no, you don't have to be amateur now. But even so, it's amateurs, but it's the rules are different. They can make money.
even while they're in the Olympics. So it's like the hockey teams now. They can,
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think they're making a big mistake that now the college athletes can make money because I think what they should do, they should put money aside for them, but they shouldn't be able to have that money because it just totally deters because you're sidetracked by all that.
No,
I
it's a good point. It's a different conversation, but sometimes the families of some of those athletes actually need the money, and so it becomes a little bit of a twist. But I that's probably a good way to doing it. Put it in a trust fund or endowment or whatever, and have them do that. Were there any while you were developing and getting older and getting ready to go to the Olympics and whatnot? Were there any inflection points, any moments that stand out that like special moments, whether whether it was on or off the ice, but while you were getting ready?
Well, yeah, when I went to my first international competition, it was in London, England, and I was 12 years old. And my parents didn't have the money that we could send the coach to in those days. They wouldn't pay all this thing. And they thought that the judge, you know, would be there. And when I got to London, I stayed in the hotel by myself because the judge was in another hotel. And I'm 12 years old. Imagine that. So I got myself to the competition, you know, to practice and all that. And I didn't speak English too well, so I smiled all the time. So I was supposed to be the friendliest competitor. But anyway, so we had a day off, right? And so I had just my first year of English in school. So I got myself a pamphlet of the things I wanted to see in London. So I put the you know a mark on. So I would go to they told me you go here, you know, somebody it just pointed me, and then I asked somebody and I went onto the subway and I went to see all these things. And I went to Piccadilly Circus, I went to Trafalgar Square, I went to London Bridge, and I'm 12 years old by myself.
Oh
And
my
my
God.
yeah, yeah. And then when I came home and I told my parents, they freaked out because
No
they,
kidding.
but anyway, so that's what I did. And I didn't think anything of it.
And there was no coach, no organizing people, anything anybody that would take care of you?
No. I mean, when I left, it was my first flight too, right? So my dad said, don't go with anybody until you hear your name. And so there was this guy when I got to London, he says, Uschi Keszler. And so I just followed him. When I
Um,
think back, you know, at 12 years old, when my son was 12, and if I would have imagined he's going to a foreign country by himself, didn't speak the language.
how did
And
that person know your name?
well, because my dad told him he was from the organizing committee and they were picking me up and they had sent a telegram at the time. And he told him that I'm wearing a white coat. And so he came and he said my name, and I just followed him. I mean, we couldn't have too much of a conversation since I didn't speak English too well.
Yeah, well, you're also 12. You're not going to talk about world affairs or something,
Right.
something like that. Um, you're now, you've had all that experience, and it is tremendous experience, well beyond just skating. It's people, it's everything that you get from what you've done. now as an executive coach, you're working with executives, how do you integrate the competition and skating human experiences and balance it in a world that's totally different for 12-year-olds now than when you were 12?
No, but see the thing where I got a lot of my experience when I was, I was supposed to make it to 68 Olympics and I made it to 64 and 66. After Worlds, I didn't feel well and I got diagnosed with TB and I ended overnight in a sanatorium for 8 months. That was the end of my career.
Well,
So, and then what happened, because I was quite a celebrity in Germany because of, I'm still in it was the last East-West German team at the time before the wall came down. And and I had all these friends because you get this rubbing the elbows kind of thing, right? And when I got sick, nobody came to see me. And when I came, and you all of a sudden realize, but my mom always said, Uschi, we come in this world alone and we go alone. And you have to become really strong and you have to learn to depend on yourself. And this was kind of a really big lesson for me, and very early then. And I think that's why I kind of realized, when I met my husband, I knew he would never hurt me because you kind of get a feeling for you judge people really quick. And, the takers and the givers and stuff like that.
yeah,
So so like my thing in coaching always was, and it's the same, life coaching or any coaching is pretty much the same thing. The rules are the same. And the first thing I always told people, my job is to show you how amazing you are, not how amazing I am. And you only can measure up to your own awareness. So my job is to raise your awareness. And that's it's the same when I deal with people in whatever their situation or their problems is. And when people used to come to me and they said, I want to be a better skater, I said, well, that's much too wide. What do you want to get better at?
right.
That's the same thing with this. What is your issue? And which is, because everything I ever taught, I ever did are life tested things. I don't like to, see what was in the books and whatever, because that's already old.
Yeah. I find it fascinating because I'll give you a funny example. I think, the young, older, I'm tired of saying young people because that makes us older people. Older, we can learn so much from the young people, and the young people can learn so much from us of different experiences we've all had, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, based on, what you're talking about, Ushi, I get it, and I think a lot of times the coach can learn from the student, and the student sometimes then becomes the coach. And I got three boys, and my youngest son, I was on the ice with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's telling me, Dad, you just got to cross over, and move towards the center, and flex your stick, and been doing that. And I said, Hunter, I know what I have to do. It's just not working the same way, as it used to. My brain knows, but it's not telling the legs. The legs aren't following the same way they used to. It's just funny when and then it's actually inspiring when the young people you coached are able to bring back some of the stuff you coached and they remember it and stuff like that. Like visualization, I was taught by a coach years ago to
Oh yeah,
visualize
I did
myself,
all the time. Yeah.
yeah, being on the ice, right, and everything. And it's brilliant stuff. I want to move a little bit from the coaching to something really special that you're doing. Can you share with us about Pennies in Action Foundation, and which I'm realizing from everything I learned from you, it could be a significant game-changing organization for cancer vaccine research, etc. Can you share with us about briefly how you got involved with it, what it's doing, and where you see it going?
Well, it's interesting. We just had a big event on Saturday night, and Dr. Zanicki had he gave a talk and it was absolutely amazing. But anyway, the way it started, I got diagnosed with breast cancer in 2005 and the following year with uterine cancer. So I had like two cancers within a year and a half. And Dr. Sinicki was my surgeon. And but I was HER2 positive, and my breast cancer no, my breast cancer was ER positive, and he did research on HER2, so I wasn't eligible for what he did at the time. But 2 years later, he was published, and they called me from University of Penn that Dr. Snicky would like talk to me, and I so we met for lunch with this person from Penn, and he was telling me about his research, and it sounded really, really interesting. And I was between students, because I always took on, I mean, I had like 5 world champions, so it wasn't just doing recreational sports.
Right.
And so I thought this would be an amazing project. And that's how I started with Pennies in Action. So I never had done anything like it. And I had never done fundraising. And so I said, I really don't know. And then it was breast cancer at the time. And I said, I had two cancers, so I cannot have a breast cancer foundation because you'll cure the breast cancer and the uterine will kill me. And so I asked him at the time, I said, how come you guys called me? Did you call all your patients? He says, no, just you and another patient. I said, why me? He said, when you came in my office, you said you'll do anything I want you to do, but nothing to kill my immune system. And little did I know that he was an immunologist, and that's how it all started. And
Wow.
we started with 2 pennies. And the reason being, because I'd never done anything, so I thought, let's go where nobody wants. And it was the kids don't even want the pennies anymore. And so my grandkids both gave me 1 penny, and they were my original donors.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and we went to, oh yeah, it was funny. So the first, so the first month I collected $40, right? And so the woman from Penn came. And she says, how did you do? I said, because I was collecting pennies at the rink because I'm the co-owner of a four surface, complex. And she probably thought, but I went and I sat there and I put a table up and I just wanted to see the psychology of how people give, right? And so they'd step by. If I look at them, then they come over after 7 times when they passed, because when we had events, so they would come. So anyway, so she said, I said, now I have $40. So how can I give that to Dr. Sinicki? She says, you can't. I said, what do you mean I can't? She says, you have to give it to the trustees of the University of Pennsylvania and they'll decide where it goes. I said, oh, no, 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 no. That's a non-starter for me. So I said, forget it. So then she says, well, the only way it could be if you pledge $25,000 and then you can have your own account. And then also you need to be a 501(c)(3), which is $8,000. So now I'm at $33,000, not my 40. And I don't know if you know how big University of Pennsylvania is. So anyway, so the next day I'm at the rink and there was the kids were skating and this dad who was never really there at practice times, he brought his daughter because she was, the nanny wasn't there. So I said, can you imagine? There I'm trying to do something and they don't even let you do it, right? So, and they wanted a pledge of $25,000. And he's looking at me. He says, do you really believe in this? I said, with all my heart. So he said, we have a family foundation. We could do this. So then the next day, I'm going to my neighbor's house, and she's an attorney, and I told her about it. She says, and the door opens up, and her husband and a friend come in. And she says, Uschi, that's the guy you want to talk to. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, he's an attorney. So I told him my story. And he says, do a lot of people do that? Because I've heard this before, what Dr. Sinicki does. And I said, I don't know. I said, how did you hear about it? He says, from one of my clients. And I said, well, what's her name? He says, Ursula Kuldowski. I said, she's the head of Dr. Zanicki's lab. So anyway, so he said, you know what? Because he's a tax attorney and specializes on 501(c)(3)s and stuff. He says, I'm putting four of them in this week. I might as well put one more. So we got that for the for just for the filing fee. So now I call University of Penn and I said, and I bet you she just threw that number out. I don't think that, that was kind of legit for if you have $25,000, then you can, you can earmark where the money goes. So
Right.
since then we have earmarked the money. That's why with actually little amount of money compared to what is spent in cancer research, for the amount that we had, he could keep his research going all these years, which
What
was
and
great.
can you talk a little bit about what's special about his research?
What's very special about it is that it's non-toxic. It uses your own immune system. Now, last night, no, on Saturday night, when he gave the talk, it said on top, God's plan for cancer, because it literally is, it's going to be the end of cancer. And then Odessa, Leskina was there, and she asked because she's quite the researcher, so she then spoke after and explained to the people how earth-shaking this is. And she didn't do the research, so it was her expertise that really put it over the top.
Yeah,
And so
she's kind of a convincing young lady.
no, but she has the background to convince with. You
Yeah,
know what
she
I mean?
does.
It's not just she's not a talker. I mean, she's a talker, but you know,
Oh, no, I love her. It's all right.
oh, awesome. She's awesome. No,
No, it's super exciting. What you're talking about there, and I love the name Pennies in Action because it means everybody. It's enough what anybody and everybody can give. Just give, basically.
no,
And
but that's the whole thing is all about. It's about what we can give and not what we get. And the other thing is, none of us ever got paid. And so I've done this for 18 years with no payment. and and we are all driven by passion for humanity to change this. But can you imagine? He really believes now too that he can solve this, and not just breast cancer. The interesting thing was, which I thought from the beginning, that he originally was in melanoma, right? And then he realized that by the time you see melanoma, it already has camouflaged itself. So he was looking for the earliest detectable cancer, which was breast cancer in the milk ducts. And so and he was researching more and more and more and more. And he started like with DCIS when it was still in the milk duct. And now he has actually cured stage 4, which was unbelievable. And we showed the video from this girl from Boston. She was the last patient that got those cells. And Dana Farber offered her palliative care, for the next perhaps 40 months. And he got her to, she is totally cancer free. I
well,
mean, it is wild, wild, wild. And the girl is she was only 33 years old when she was diagnosed, and she was diagnosed immediately with stage 4. And she is a, a nurse practitioner, and she said in the video, she says, when I got the diagnosis, I knew what my prognosis would be. And it so turned out that at Taft, there was a doctor that actually studied under Zanicki, Dr. Zanicki. So then that's how it all happened. But I mean, it was so inspiring, you wouldn't believe.
so are these is his research, his work, is it going to be I don't even know what the word is. Is it going to be offered? Is it going to be recognized?
No, well, it is recognized. I mean, he has been in trial for the last 20 years. And so the thing is, he went into stage 0, and like he had about 400 people so far that had this treatment. and he has like an 87% success rate. And in the last four stage four patients, he has a 100% success rate, which is unbelievable. It's like,
So do healthcare organizations, hospitals, whatever, know about it and are and using it, or how does that work?
well, no, see, the thing is, he has so far, they always had to, the oncologist said he couldn't do the trial unless he first gives chemo. So for all these years, they had so, and then he would give the cells, and and it helped the things along. But they said, well, it's because of the chemo. So he
Right.
never could really say he had the proof. But then with these stage four people, under the right to try, somehow they gave him permission to do it first, and that's since then he has the proof.
Cool. And how can people contribute? Do they just look under Pennies in Action Foundation if people?
Yes. Yes, at penniesinaction.org. And we now partnered with silent
Silent donor.
donors. Yeah. And so now they can also go there because we went live on Saturday.
Awesome.
It's
I'm
really
so happy
awesome.
that worked with Silent Donor. Now we have some more work to do.
Oh,
Um, to get
exactly.
we have more to do. No, that's thank you so much for sharing that and for all the work you're doing with that. I mean, that's like doing a triple whatever you call it in the on the ice and
What? This
exactly.
one is fun. Stop. It's my little dog.
Oh, we love dogs. Can you do a quick show? Can you pick them up and we can see them
Oh,
before we go?
yeah.
We're
Can you
now.
see her?
Hi,
This,
buddy.
this is Penny. She's the mascot for Pennies in Action.
Of course. Hi, Penny. What a cutie pie you are, Penny.
Oh, she is.
You're a
She's
star now.
adorable.
You've been on Leaders Who Care. You're a star.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
He's not the first dog on the show, though, so sorry.
Oh,
There's
good.
been others on. Um, no, this is fantastic. Thanks for sharing. I mean, some of your journey, obviously, and your coaching of skating champions, but just as important, your championing something for healthcare that is
No,
affecting so
this will
many
be
people.
amazing. It will be the end of cancer. I mean, as a matter of fact, on uh, April 18th, we have our next Showers of Hope, and he will be able to tell us some proof because we are going to go now also into the other cancers because, it's unbelievable. And you know what's amazing? I saw the end of TB when I was in the hospital. About 3 years later, they started being able to handle it, and they got rid of all the sanatoriums. And I asked Dr. Sinicki about 3 months ago, do you think I will see the end of cancer in my lifetime? I said, I'm not that young, so make sure he says, you definitely will see it. Can you imagine I will have seen the end of TB and the end of cancer? I mean, that's just unbelievable.
It is, and it just shows what can be done. It also shows that we should be open. We should be open to things out there that we don't know about or whatnot, because you never know what can happen, and just explore
Yeah,
more.
but you see, he's using your own immune system. There's really no drugs involved in this,
Which is
which is
even better.
unbelievable. And he was saying, he says, when God creates a problem or there is a problem, God always gives the back door, but you have to find it. And he says the back door to cancer is the immune system.
Makes sense. The body's a brilliant thing. It knows about itself, what to do. I have one more question for you. Um, in LA, we say we have to leave them wanting more so we can do a sequel. So we might have to do that. But Um, a client of mine in 2021 talked about the year 2020, the COVID year and all that, and he said it was the year that flew by slowly.
Hmm.
And it's kind of true. Sometimes it feels like it was yesterday, and sometimes it feels like it was years ago, all of the above. Um, Now we're already at the end of 2025, which is quite amazing. Can you share with us briefly what you're most grateful for and what you're most hopeful for?
What I'm most grateful for is, first of all, you brought up COVID. My son was extremely ill. He was on two life supports, and they did not think he was going to make it. So for 4 months, he was in the ICU. And all I could do is pray. And I have PTSD because of it. That's why I actually have the dog, because it was, I can handle pressure. I can handle pressure a lot, like with competitions and everything, stress.
Hmm.
But to have the stress for 4 months, 24/7, to see if your child is going to be there the next day, that was
That's the
so,
worst.
so thankful, because they said at the time that it was a miracle. And the doctor said they couldn't save him. It was God that saved him. And I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I think what I'm most happy about is that the return of the Ten Commandments. I think that because when we have the Ten Commandments, they are the rule for life. You know what I mean? If you follow the Ten Commandments, it covers everything. And now you have like a million laws here, there, and everywhere. But it's so simple, you know. But like Bruce Lee said, it's when I was a kid, a kick was a kick and a punch was a punch. Then I studied martial arts, and a kick wasn't a kick, a punch wasn't a punch. And then I understood martial arts. Then a kick was a kick and a punch was a punch. And the problem is that we tend to get caught up in the complexities. And I think a lot of our teachers are still in the complex stage. Now, as complexity on complexity, there's utter confusion. And like I said to Dr. Sunicki at the time, I said, I'm here, the simple thing, I want this to get cured. I said, you're on the other side, you are in simplicity. So don't pull me into the complexity stage. I'm not going to study medicine for 25 years. So we're going to line up, and you tell me if we are lined up or
Well,
not.
that's why you have a team, you know.
Exactly.
That is why you
Exactly.
have a team, and that's why we do Leaders Who Care. It is as simple as if we care more about each other, then there's a better chance that good things will happen in everything, in life, in business, in family, and the whole bit. It's not that hard to care. So thank you for being a Leaders Who Care, and thank you for sharing all that. And like, let's make it happen, right?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I am so happy to see that we will see the end of cancer, which is, can you imagine? It's something that has been documented 4,000 years ago.
Amen.
Problem of 4,000 years. We'll do it. And thank you so much. And thank you for everything you are doing for us.
No, it's been my pleasure. Thanks.